Hey everybody, Enra Silver here. Thanks for tuning in to episode 5 of the Void Terraformer Build Journal. Now, we had the Expeditions update drop a few days ago, and word on the street is that your avatar's orientation upon entering and exiting an SRT has changed. So I went to check it out at my 30,000 U teleporter, and yep, you come out facing 180 degrees from how you used to. Makes this trip a bit more work, but still a crazy quick way to travel 30,000 U. But enough of that, let's get down to business. So first order of business was to find a spot equidistant from each cave system. I'd stacked a couple of walls up at the entrance to each cave to help me find them in the middle of a storm, but these came in handy here too. I just went into photo mode, eyeballed a spot about halfway between the two, and started building there. So I got a wire placed about a full wall off the ground. I wanted to start elevated since I knew I was going to be using race force amplifiers for the outer shell of the reactor, and these things are huge compared to most other building pieces. And if I'd started at ground level, fully half of each one would be punched into the ground and not visible. And the reason I'm using them is for how they look. So I wanted them to be as visible as possible while still having parts sunk into the ground. Next, I glitched a biodome onto the wire, and then adjacency glitched 8 planners into the biodome, then glitched a light panel onto the outer connector in each one. Then I went around, deleted all 8 planners, and put 8 new ones in the spots that I hadn't used before, and then glitched light panels onto their outer connectors. Deleting the second biodome left me with a nice circle of 16 light panels. Now, I wanted the reactor to be as big as I could get it, so I pushed a couple of light panels out 2 more panels and glitched race force amplifiers onto them. Still had some overlap. If I went to 3 panels out, I got a slight gap, so 2 panels is the sweet spot. I then went around making 2 circles of light panels. As always, the orientation of the light panels is critical. The outer ring, which is going to get race force amplifiers glitched onto them, needs the line on the panel facing to the left. The inner ring, which is going to get exocraft summoning stations glitched onto them, needs to have the line on the right to ensure that the exocraft summoning stations come in with their satellite array facing inward. Next step was to set up the core of the reactor. Now, originally, I had a different plan for the core, but a couple days earlier, I was watching a live stream by Pez where he was playing around with BCEs of different pieces and came up with this one made out of canister racks. Usually, when you're building BCEs, you want to cram as many pieces as you can in so that it more closely resembles a circle. With this one, you only want 6 to 8 pieces so that the circumference is more jagged. Pez then took it a step further and went around the outside of the structure, placing pill lights on each outer bar. The pill lights placed with the bar between the bottom 2 ribs of the pill light, with the connectors facing inwards. Now, honestly, I had never considered using BCEs as scaffolding until I saw Pez try this. Now I think about it all the time. So thanks a lot, Pez. You're the man. Once all the pill lights were placed, it was time to work my way around the structure, glitching straight corridors onto each connector. Once I got the straight corridors glitched in all the way around, I went back around and started slapping hollow doors on the top of each one of the straight corridors. Once I got that finished, I realized the error of my ways. When I saw Pez do this, he did it on creative, where all he had to do was go to his base computer and turn on the power for the doors to light up. Since I'm playing in survival, I've got no way to make them light up. I've got to figure some shit out. So while I was trying to figure out my lighting problem, I figured I'd go ahead and glitch all the race force amplifiers in on the outer circle of light panels. And on the inner circle of light panels, I went ahead and glitched adornment cubes. I'll get to that here in a second. But first, let's get back to my lighting issue, or lack thereof, in these straight corridors. Now, I figured that the doors, even though they didn't light up, still opened up the corridor, and I could see the bottoms. Why not just wire glitch a fissure into the bottom of each one of the corridors? It ended up working out quite nicely, but was insanely fiddly. Because if my cursor was off even just a little bit, I'd glitch the light fissure in at an angle, and when I deleted the fissure, it would take all the doors with it. So I was having to do a whole lot of glitch banana, glitch banana, glitch banana. That was pretty much what I did this whole way through. Definitely a bit of a pain in the ass, but the final structure looked good, so I was alright with the time it took. Now it's time to talk about those adornment cubes. So I went ahead and I stacked 2 more cubes on top of each one, then one over closer towards the race amplifiers, and then put a pyramid on top of that one. I then went down below and put a cube underneath each one all the way around. I then go back and I delete everything but the very bottom cube and the pyramid. Next, I went around centering a wire on each cube. Once the wire was centered, I'd drag an end out towards the center of the reactor. The tip of this wire would be my glitch point for the plate stems. I tried several other glitch points for the plate stems, the light panel, even the center of the wire, but this point gave me the best look. Since I'm planning on angling the next level of race force amplifiers inward, all the closer glitch points left me with part of the plate stem punching through the race force amplifier. Not a good look. Once I got all the wires set, I figured I should probably glitch in a couple plate stems and a couple race force amplifiers just to make sure everything was lining up right. So the plate stems get glitched to the interconnector on each of the wire fragments, while the race force amplifiers get wire glitched to the very tip of each one of the pyramids. This brings them in at an angle, but without too much overlap with the lower level. Once I get all of them in, they look pretty good, so I just keep going, working my way around, glitching in plate stems and race force amplifiers all the way around. Once that's done, I go back and start working my way around the circle, glitching in my exocraft summoning stations. So once that's done, only thing left to do is to figure out what I'm going to do with the very middle of this core. So after looking at it for a bit, I realized that I could use light fissures colored red instead of green for a good contrast, and I can use bubble cluster adjacency to pack them in there much tighter than I normally would be able to, giving them more light and a better look. So as I start to run the piping into the sides of the reactor, I run into a bit of a problem. The light panels are preventing me from green stating a paver close enough to the reactor to then punch a cylinder into the reactor. So easy fix. All I do is just go delete my scaffolding comp and continue with my build. Easy peasy. Now it's time to build up the outflow piping. I start by taking an industrial barrel, making it as big as I can, and what do you know, it fits perfectly in the center of the light fissures. Next, I place a couple cylinders on top of it, green state a third, and then adjacency to a paver. I then place wires on the paver heading out in 6 directions, delete the paver and replace the cylinder, then start glitching curved pipes onto the wires for my 6-way junction. I think it came out looking great, but as I watch this back, I think you could even do an 8-way junction that's still functional. I might have to try that on a future build. Once I have all 6 curved pipes glitched in, it's time to build them outwards to the exhaust vents. Since I've got 6 pipes in 2 sets of 3, I decide each set will have 1 vent at ground level, 1 slightly above reactor level, and 1 much higher in the air. I start with the ground vent since that's going to be the easiest to assemble. I run the piping out a little ways, doing my usual inset pill lights and wire fragments. Once I get down to ground level, I drop a floor panel, place a battery, and use it to glitch another battery downward into the ground. This will be my glitch point for the vent construct. For these vents, I decided to adapt something I'd done in the Ice Queen's Palace collab build I did with Pez and DG Squared. I glitch base salvage capsules, you can use antimatter reactors too, they look identical, to the back 3 connectors, and a livestock unit to the front connector. I then power up my pill lights, glitch in my void husks, make sure everything looks good, and then continue assembling my vent piping. So I assembled the rest of the piping the same way I have been. I see no need to rehash that, but I did want to show everyone how I assembled the elevated vents. When I got the piping extended to the point I wanted, I'd snap a cube on the end, a pipe on top of the cube, delete the cube, and adjacency from a cylinder to a paver. I then snap a floor onto the paver, drop it down by a short wall, and now it's ready to have batteries glitched onto it. Another note about the batteries, they're all assigned to my scaffolding comp, so they don't stick around in the final build. So I finished building all the exhaust vents, and then I decided there's one last thing I want to do before I'm done with the reactor entirely, and that is the elevated vents need ladders going up to them so they can be maintained should they break down. So in order to do this, I decided to use the ladder, the infrastructure ladder, from the cuboid build menu. Now, these ladders are fairly easy to work with if you know what you're doing, but they can be super fiddly as well. So you want to have light panels oriented in this way. The reason you're using light panels is that you can delete the light panels and the ladder will stay. However, if you accidentally throw a wire, deleting that wire, even if the light panels are still there, will take the ladder with it. So when I was putting these together, literally, no joke at all, it was successful glitch, banana, successful glitch, banana, successful glitch, banana, the whole way through, just to make sure that if I ever placed a wire, I would then be able to have an autosave to reload from, like you see here. Now I'll demonstrate here that even though they overlap in areas, the ladders are still functional. So that's the end of episode 5, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Check back in another couple days for episode 6, where I start construction on the laboratory. So everyone please take it easy, and I will see you all in a couple days.